Genevieve. Hi, all. How we doing? Good. Good to see so many familiar faces. How do I do this? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to set the stage for a minute with some information that some of you know, but just to put us all on the same page. We're losing the tech race right now as progressives, which is crazy. There's no reason that we should be losing the tech race. With the talent in this room and the talent that exists out in the world that supports our values, we should be winning the tech race. But in the past decade, we've fallen a bit behind. And so one of the questions I've asked myself recently in my career is why? And the answer is that our cycle of innovation is super broken. So this will be review for some of you, but the way that innovation has worked historically, particularly in democratic electoral politics, is we invest a lot of money and incredible resources during presidential campaigns. We build massive tech teams and cutting-edge tools that carry our presidential candidates every 4 years. But at the end of presidential campaigns, most of that tech dies with the campaigns. And all of the talented people that we bring on board, their paychecks end and they go on to other jobs, sometimes in other industries. And as a result, none of the tech that we build to support our candidates exists cycle to cycle, and none of it is built for down-ballot candidates. So we recreate the wheel every 4 years, often building the same solutions to old problems without really moving the ball forward in the way that we know how to do from the talent and the bench that we're building. The good news is that we're fixing this. I think one of the best things that's come out of this moment in time, the resistance movement, is an energy and a commitment to fix this problem. Rather than the yo-yo approach to innovation that we've taken in the past, we're now on a little bit more of an upward climb. And of course, there's going to be peaks during cycles, particularly in presidential years. But because of these outside groups, like many of you here, that are doing some heroic work in the technology space, we're not going to fall quite as far. And hopefully that puts us on a better trajectory as we build technology going forward. So this is an overwhelming map. I'm going to leave it up for a second. Take a look at it. This is a map that the group that I run called Higher Ground Labs put together over the course of a 4-month landscape analysis. And our goal was to help summarize what feels like a very opaque space, which is the political technology space. So we did our best to build a map that showed some of the categories for political technology and how those tech tools intersected with one another or needed to integrate with one another. This isn't a fully finished product, but and it'll continue to evolve as our technology evolves. But it's a snapshot of where we are right now in terms of the buckets of technology that we're seeing. This is a crowded space. So we built this map using an inventory of over 300 tools just for Democrats. That's a little bit crazy. And these aren't all the logos, but they're all the ones that we could fit on the page. So the question that we get all the time is, if you are a progressive candidate or a progressive organization, how do you decide which tools in this crowded ecosystem you should use? And our answer to this is that there is not a one-size-fits-all answer. I strongly believe that there should not be just one tech stack that we're using, but rather each candidate, each campaign, each organization should be asking questions to help them arrive at the tech stack that works best for them. So the first and foremost, I have to lean over to see my questions here, but the first one is, what are your strategic priorities? People often get mixed up when they think about choosing technology. Technology does not take the place of your strategy. The first thing you have to do is figure out what your goals are as an organization and build a strategy for how to achieve those goals. The tech tools that you use can support that strategy, but they cannot replace it. So that's the first thing everyone needs to ask. The second is, what in my current process is overly complicated or burdensome? What are the places that we can achieve better efficiency where technology might be able to help us? The third is, where are we limited by capacity? Particularly with the plethora of groups that we have out there right now, people are limited by capacity. You can't hire all of the staff that you want. You can't have all of the resources that you want. So where can technology help you bridge a gap that you are otherwise unable to bridge with the capacity that you have? And finally, what questions do I not have answers to? Where could my strategy be smarter if I had more data and better insight that technology might be able to provide? So when you ask those questions, you end up with very different tech stacks depending on the type of organization you're running. For example, this is an example of a congressional campaigns technology stack. I made some choices here. You could make other choices as a congressional campaign. Many do. But this gives you a sense of a much more scaled down version of what that map might look like. And mind you that a congressional campaign doesn't actually buy each of the tools even listed here. Some of these are used like as the back-end data sources for the data aggregation tool that they're using, or used by their media buying firm when targeting their digital ads. So it's a much more slimmed down version, and actually the choices that the campaign is making is even more slimmed down than this. Did it switch? Does it say National Advocacy Tech Stack? Great. So this is an example of what a national advocacy organization might use. It's a different tech stack. There's different tools. Some are the same, some overlap, some actually strategically overlap, but it's a very different stack. And so it's important that this national advocacy group has options in the same way that the congressional campaign has options. But navigating what choices you make has to go back to those strategic questions for the type of campaign, the type of organization that you're building. So, one of the things that I think we're here today to answer is where do we go from here? Where are the gaps, and how do we fill those gaps as a movement? And so I thought I'd just throw up a couple of the questions that we at Higher Ground Labs find ourselves asking over and over again as we think about the technology ecosystem. The first is, what are the platforms, how do the platforms that we have integrate seamlessly? How does the data that we have flow between all of the tools and platforms that campaigns and organizations are using? And how do we make that possible in the progressive tech ecosystem? Hold on. The second is, how do we quickly evaluate what's working and what isn't? I'm not going to read all these because you can read them, and I just have to keep running over there. But these are the types of questions that we find ourselves asking at Higher Ground Labs as we're thinking about technology. So we're always on the lookout for great tech tools that are filling new holes and filling spaces that no one else is meeting, or doing something that we're already doing better. But a lot of these questions really get to how our organizations can be more integrated, how our campaigns can run more seamlessly, how we can service all of the size of campaigns and organizations in our ecosystem, and how we can continue to do that more and more efficiently over time. So excited to answer these questions and others with you for the rest of the day. Thanks.